Could the way your loved one is changing right now be telling you something important that you're not yet hearing? Could their decreased appetite, their increased need for sleep, or their gradual withdrawal from activities actually be a natural communication from a body and spirit preparing for a profound transition? These questions are difficult to ask and even harder to sit with. But understanding what's happening during a senior's final year of life can transform fear and confusion into compassion, presence, and peace. If you're caring for someone in their 80s or 90s, or if you're watching a beloved parent or spouse move through changes that concern you, this information is for you. What you're about to learn may be tender and emotional, but it's also deeply empowering. Recognizing the natural signs that often appear in a senior's last year of life allows you to respond with wisdom rather than panic, with patience rather than pressure, and with love rather than attempts to fix what cannot and should not be fixed. These signs are not emergencies to be solved. They are messages from a body that is gently, gradually completing its journey. The first sign that often appears, sometimes so subtly that families don't notice it at first, is a noticeable change in appetite and eating habits. Food carries enormous emotional weight in families. Sharing meals represents love, care, tradition, and connection. When someone you love begins eating less, leaving food on their plate, or losing interest in meals they once enjoyed, it can feel alarming, even heartbreaking. You may find yourself urging them to eat more, preparing their favorite dishes in hopes of sparking their appetite, or feeling frustrated when they turn away food you've lovingly prepared. But here's what's actually happening. As the body approaches the end of life, it requires less fuel. Metabolism slows dramatically. The digestive system works less efficiently. The senses of taste and smell diminish, making food less appealing. The body is conserving energy, redirecting resources away from digestion toward more essential functions. This isn't a sign of giving up or depression, though it can sometimes accompany those feelings. More often, it's simply the body's natural wisdom at work, doing what it needs to do. Consider John, an 83-year-old man who had always started his day with a hearty breakfast of eggs, toast, and bacon. His daughter noticed over several months that his portions grew smaller. He began skipping the eggs, then eating only half a piece of toast. Eventually, he preferred just tea and perhaps a few bites of something soft. His daughter's instinct was to worry, to encourage him to eat more, to fear he was becoming malnourished. But John's body was telling a story. It no longer needed or wanted large amounts of food. The effort of digestion had become more taxing than the benefit of the calories consumed. When families understand this, the approach changes completely. Instead of focusing on calories and nutrition in the way we would for a younger, growing body, the focus shifts to comfort and pleasure. Offer small portions of favorite foods. Don't pressure or plead. Provide fluids like water, juice or broth, which are often easier to manage than solid food. Sit together during mealtimes, even if they're eating very little. Share a cup of tea. The companionship and ritual matter more than the quantity consumed. This shift in perspective releases both the senior and the family from unnecessary struggle and guilt. The second sign that commonly appears is increased fatigue and significantly more time spent sleeping. Your loved one, who was once active, engaged, and alert, may now spend much of the day resting or sleeping. They may nap frequently, sleep later in the morning, go to bed earlier at night, and generally seem to have little energy for activities they previously enjoyed. This can be one of the most concerning changes for families to witness, because profound fatigue can look like depression or giving up on life. But what's really occurring is that the body's systems are requiring more effort to function. The heart works harder to pump blood. The lungs work harder to oxygenate tissues. Muscles require more energy to move. Every bodily function that once operated efficiently now demands more resources, leaving less energy available for activity, conversation, and engagement with the external world. Sleep becomes not just rest, but a necessary state where the body can focus all its energy on essential functions without the demands of consciousness and movement. Think about Anne, a 79-year-old woman who loved gardening, doing crossword puzzles, and visiting with her grandchildren. Over the course of about 6 months, her family noticed she was sleeping through most mornings. She would wake for a light lunch, perhaps watch television for an hour, then nap again through the afternoon. By early evening, she might be awake and alert for a short period before going to bed for the night. Her family initially worried she was depressed or had developed a medical problem causing excessive sleepiness. But Anne wasn't depressed. She simply felt pulled toward rest in a way she'd never experienced before. Her body was telling her it needed to conserve energy, and she was wisely listening. The compassionate response to this sign is to allow rest without guilt or pressure to be more active. Create a comfortable, peaceful environment for sleep with soft blankets, appropriate room temperature, and minimal noise. Don't wake them unnecessarily or try to keep them engaged when their body is calling for rest. Be present during their waking hours, but don't expect or demand the energy levels they once had. Sit quietly beside them. Hold their hand. Share brief, gentle conversations. These moments of quiet presence become profoundly meaningful when you understand that rest is not withdrawal but a necessary and natural process. The third sign often appears gradually and can be misunderstood as rejection or anger. This is withdrawal from social activities and relationships. Your loved one may decline invitations to family gatherings they would have previously attended. They may prefer to stay in their room rather than join the family for meals or television. They may seem less interested in phone calls, visits from friends, or outings they once enjoyed. Phone conversations may become shorter. Visits may seem to tire them quickly. They may appear content in solitude in ways that feel unfamiliar and concerning to family members who remember them as social and engaged. This withdrawal is not about losing love for family or losing interest in life. It's about a natural turning inward that occurs as people approach the end of life. Socializing, even with beloved family members, requires energy. It demands cognitive effort to follow conversations, emotional energy, to engage with others' feelings and needs, and physical energy to maintain presence and interaction. As energy becomes more precious and limited, seniors naturally conserve it by reducing social demands. There's also a deeper emotional and spiritual dimension to this withdrawal. Many people in their final months naturally begin an internal process of reflection, life review, finding peace with their journey, and preparing for what comes next. This internal work requires quiet, solitude, and freedom from external demands. Ray, an 85-year-old grandfather who had always been the life of family parties, began declining invitations to Sunday dinners. He stopped calling friends he'd talked to weekly for years. When family visited, he seemed pleased to see them, but ready for them to leave after 15 or 20 minutes. His children worried he felt unloved or was pushing them away. But Ray wasn't rejecting his family. He was following an internal pull toward quiet and simplicity. He needed time alone to think, remember, and find peace. The moments he did share with family became more focused and meaningful precisely because he wasn't depleting himself, trying to maintain previous levels of social engagement. The loving response to this withdrawal is acceptance and respect for their needs. Don't take it personally. Don't pressure them to be more social or express concern that they're isolating themselves. Offer quiet companionship. Sit together in silence. Hold hands. Share brief, meaningful exchanges rather than lengthy visits. Quality becomes infinitely more important than quantity. A few genuine moments of connection mean more than hours of forced interaction that exhaust them. Trust that their withdrawal serves a purpose you may not fully understand but can honor with grace. The fourth sign involves changes in awareness, memory, and orientation, and this can be particularly distressing for families to witness. Your loved one may become confused about what day it is or where they are. They may ask the same questions repeatedly. They may talk about people from their past as if those people were present. They may confuse family members, calling a grandchild by a sibling's name or speaking to you as if you were someone else. They may have conversations with people who have died. Their sleep-wake cycle may become irregular, with alertness at night and sleepiness during the day. Time itself may seem to lose meaning for them. These changes reflect shifts in how the brain is processing information as it approaches the end of life. Short-term memory often fades, while long-term memories from decades past remain vivid and emotionally significant. The boundary between past and present softens. Dreams and memories may feel as real as current experiences. The logical, time-oriented mind that keeps us anchored in present reality begins to release its rigid structure, allowing emotional truth and meaningful memories to take precedence. This isn't necessarily dementia or a medical crisis, though those conditions can certainly occur. Often, it's simply part of the natural transition process. Leonard, an 82-year-old man, began speaking about his childhood farm as if he still lived there. He would ask when his mother was coming home, though she had passed away decades earlier. He sometimes addressed his daughter by his sister's name. His family initially tried to correct him, reminding him where he was and when he was living. But these corrections seemed to distress him and didn't change his perceptions. When his family learned to simply enter his reality with gentle acceptance, everything changed. When he spoke about his mother, they would ask what she was like. When he talked about the farm, they would ask him to share memories. This approach brought him comfort and peace rather than agitation and confusion. The compassionate approach to these changes in awareness is to avoid correction and confrontation. Don't argue about what's real or try to force them back into present reality. Enter their experience with kindness. If they're confused about the time or place, offer gentle reassurance without insisting they accept your version of reality. Hold their hand. Speak softly. Use their name. These simple grounding techniques can help without creating conflict. Understand that their mind is doing exactly what it needs to do, prioritizing emotional comfort and meaningful memories over logical precision. Your presence, your voice, your touch, these matter far more than whether they know what day it is. The fifth and final sign involves noticeable changes in physical appearance and movement. Weight loss often occurs even if eating habits haven't changed dramatically. Cheeks may become sunken, hands and arms may look thinner. Clothing that once fit well now hangs loosely. Skin may become more fragile, appearing thin and translucent. Color changes may occur, with increased paleness or a grayish or purplish tint to extremities as circulation decreases. Movement becomes slower and more deliberate. Walking may require assistance. Standing from a chair becomes a significant effort. Tasks like bathing and dressing that were once independent activities now need help. These physical changes can be startling for families who remember their loved one as strong and capable. The visible decline makes the approach of death more concrete and undeniable, which stirs complex emotions including grief, fear, and sometimes relief that the struggle is nearing its end. The body is conserving every bit of energy for essential functions. It's no longer building or maintaining muscle. It's no longer concerned with appearance or strength. Every resource is directed toward the most critical systems, and even those are gradually winding down. Margaret, an 84-year-old woman, had always taken pride in her appearance and independence. Over several months, her family watched her become visibly smaller and ate more fragile. Her movements, once quick and efficient, became slow and careful. She needed help getting dressed, bathing, and moving from bed to chair. Her hands, which had quilted and cooked and cared for so many, now rested quietly in her lap most of the day. But in her eyes, when she looked at her children and grandchildren, there remained a warmth and presence that no physical decline could diminish. Her love expressed itself not through words or actions, but through gentle hand squeezes and soft smiles. The response to these physical changes is tenderness and practical support. Help with physical tasks without making them feel diminished or infantilized. Speak to them with the same respect and dignity you always have. Keep them comfortable with soft clothing, warm blankets, and gentle care for their fragile skin. Move slowly and give them time to respond to requests or questions. Don't rush them. Create an environment of peace and safety where they don't have to worry about falling or struggling alone. Every small act of physical care is an expression of love and honor for the person they are and the life they've lived. These 5 signs, changes in appetite, increased fatigue, social withdrawal, alterations in awareness and memory, and physical decline, often appear together and reinforce one another. They're part of an integrated process, where body, mind, emotions, and spirit all move toward completion. Understanding them as natural rather than pathological transforms how families experience this time. Instead of fighting against each change, trying to restore what was, or living in denial about what's happening, families can shift into a mode of presence, acceptance, and deep companionship. This doesn't mean there's nothing to do. Medical care, pain management, and comfort measures remain important. If your loved one is experiencing distressing symptoms, consult with healthcare providers about hospice or palliative care services. These professionals specialize in comfort and quality of life during the final stages of life and can provide tremendous support to both the senior and the family. But it does mean releasing the expectation that things will return to how they were and embracing what this season of life offers. Opportunities for reflection, forgiveness, the sharing of memories, expressions of love, and simply being together without agenda or pressure. This time, as difficult as it is, can also be sacred. When you stop fighting the natural process and instead support it with wisdom and compassion, you create space for profound connection. You honor your loved one's dignity. You allow them to complete their journey in peace rather than in struggle. You give yourself the gift of being fully present for whatever time remains rather than consumed with anxiety about what's being lost. If you're experiencing this with someone you love right now, know that what you're feeling, the sadness, the uncertainty, the exhaustion, love, all of it is valid and shared by countless others walking this same path. Reach out for support when you need it. Talk to friends, counselors, spiritual advisors, or support groups. You don't have to carry this alone. And in the quiet moments, when you're sitting beside your loved one as they rest or holding their hand in silence, know that you're doing something profoundly important. You're bearing witness. You're offering love in its purest form. You're honoring a life and a relationship that has shaped who you are. Take a moment now to reflect on these signs and what you've observed in your own loved one. Share this information with other family members who may be confused or frightened by the changes they're seeing. Leave a comment below about your experience or questions. And most importantly, give yourself permission to be gentle with yourself and with your loved one during this tender time. This is not a time for perfection. It's a time for presence, for love, and for allowing the natural completion of a life well lived.